Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back after our summer break. I have a traditional old head cold, so I am at home today, but I am going to call this meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee to order at 9:32. As we gather this morning, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Patty, has roll call been taken?
Through you, Chair, to committee, yes, roll call has been taken.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'll ask if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof. I see none. Can I get an adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting held on June 16th, 2022, please? Moved by Councillor Hunt, seconded by Councillor Brose. Are there any errors or omissions? I see none. All in favor? Thank you, committee. We have no delegations today, so I will turn this over to Mr. Moreau for the administration report.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. There are two items in the administration report today. The first item is a recommendation regarding the inaugural meeting of County Council scheduled for December 7th, 2022. Chair, with your permission, I'll read the recommendation. Recommendation that the Finance and Administration Committee recommend that the inaugural meeting of County Council be held on Wednesday, December 7th, 2022.
Thank you. So can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Peckett, seconded by, I don't see anybody say, oh, Councillor Donahue. Oh, sorry. Any discussion? All in favor?
If I may, Chair, I'll provide some background.
Sure.
Thank you, Chair. Rose has contacted all the municipalities. We had a number of municipalities that have rearranged their inaugural dates. Unfortunately, we had one or two that couldn't provide us with the flexibility. As of now, we have one holdout that's indicated the December 7th date, but I believe that November 22nd, actually, it would be right after that we could have our inaugural, but unfortunately, we are waiting for one, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Unless there's any other discussion, but I think Paul's kind of...
Thank you, Chair. The warden.
I'm not sure where...
I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Warden.
That's okay.
You're hiding behind James Brose.
As long as you don't tell me that I blend into the background.
No.
That's a going joke. The only comment I have to make is that that means people who have been elected on the 24th of October have to wait 44 days before the inaugural meeting for the County of Renfrew. So I guess through you, Chair, I'd ask our CAO. I understand that requires me to continue to be the warden, and so the responsibility remains with me. Is that what's happening? Because I will not have a council, right? Like, will we meet as a council in November? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair, if I may.
I would say no, but Paul, what do you think?
Chair, that is my understanding, and we did talk to, Craig and I did have a conversation with Tony Fleming, and Rose was involved in that as well. That is the opinion that we received. The warden would be in place and still be the head of council until such time as they're sworn in. So it's somewhat problematic for us, if I understand that correctly. Craig?
Thanks, Paul, and through you, Chair. It is creating an issue. I forget the term he used, but you still are our council until such time as a new one is sworn in. Where that puts us in November, we've had a chat, Rose and I, and with Paul is it's going to be very difficult not to have a meeting in a real business meeting in November, December. We still have items that the county needs to push through before January, for goodness sake. So I mean, so trying to work on a committee week somewhere in November, December, but then we're putting a committee together while many of you may or may not be on your last couple of days. It's a bit of a logistical nightmare for us at the moment, waiting until December the 7th, but it is unfortunately what it is. I would suspect and expect that we will have a working meeting after the inaugural in December to push forward the actions and the business of the corporation.
Yes, Paul, go ahead. This is a mess.
Sorry, Chair, if I may, I'll actually read you the paragraph of the opinion letter we received from Cunningham Swan. In the period of time between November 14th, when the council term is deemed to end, and the date of the inaugural meeting of the County Council, Section 6.3 of the Municipal Act provides that the holders of office continue to hold office until their successors are elected and the newly elected council is organized. Organized has a special meeting in the legislation. A council is not organized until its members take the oath of office at the inaugural meeting. Therefore, even though the terms of the lower tier and upper tier council end on November 14th, both councils are still organized and constitute the government of the municipality until the successor council is sworn in the way the continuity of local, in that way the continuity of level continues, is assured.
I tend to agree with the warden, though. Like, the election's on the 24th of October, and we're talking about December 7th. So, realistically, that leaves us without a council.
The warden has her
Yes, Councillor Donahue, go ahead.
I'm raising my hand on behalf of the warden, actually. I don't think that you can see her on the screen.
Go ahead, Warden.
Thank you, Chair. So I want to make sure people didn't misunderstand me and that I don't want to be the warden until the 7th of December. I'm going to have withdrawal symptoms when I leave here, so I'm quite happy to do it till November the 7th. But, and I'm assuming then, if we are still the council of the day, then we will be having a county council meeting on the 30th of November. You know, there's been 7 people on county council have indicated they are not running for re-election. So, you know, expecting them then to come back, I think is a bit of an ask, but they'll probably do it. The other option, of course, is to go ahead and have our inaugural meeting in November and swear in the lone member that won't have had their inaugural meeting in January. We couldn't do that. I don't know who. It's reality. It's the reality. I'm sorry, folks.
Paul, what are your thoughts on that?
Chair, just 2 items I'll put on the floor. There's one opportunity to table this resolution until the month of September, possibly, Rose. We could bring it back and again go back and council could consider this issue. We would bring it forward to county council as an information item in August to let council know that we've tabled this item because there is an issue for us. Jeff has raised a second concern, and I think I have the answer for it. But should the inaugural not occur and the new council not sworn in to county council until December 7th, the old council will be paid up until December 7th. So there's a financial consideration here as well in terms of who is getting paid in what role. So just be aware of that as well.
Would the mover, yes, Councillor Donahue.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Foss. Now I have a pecuniary interest. I didn't declare. This actually came up, I guess, at the June meeting, and it is unfortunate. We've known, in fact, this was supposed to have happened in 2018, but I think it came on too fast and they actually deferred it until the 2022 elections. So we've known probably for about 5 years that this was going to advance. So it is unfortunate that we find ourselves in this situation. It seems to me, and I understand certainly the discomfort that may be provided to the warden, though I am somewhat skeptical that she does not like the power that she wields. I believe that we are in restricted acts, so a whole lot of authority has been delegated to staff. So there is that potential, and that's not going to change until such time as the new council is sworn in. So certainly responding to Mr. Kelly, I think the concern, does that business have to be done by this council, because we would remain in a restricted acts or lame duck situation even if we were to continue into November. The other thing, I mean, I certainly think that the warden is absolutely correct. As I'd indicated in June, the Municipal Act does indicate that once there is a quorum available for county council, that county council can be sworn in and sit for their first session. In this instance, it seems that I'm hearing is that 16 of 17 would be present. So there is that possibility of simply advancing the calendar by a month from the tradition that has occurred at the County of Renfrew, and that whatever municipality that is not swearing in their council until December, that person can certainly be sworn in at the next county council meeting. So I think ultimately I am in support, and if Mr. Morrow, you're seeking a motion, I will move what you had suggested, i.e. that this be deferred and that staff come into the September FNA and ultimately to council with some options that council could then consider, as opposed to what is in front of us in this resolution. So I would move that.
Seconder, Councillor Donahue. Councillor Hunt. Any more discussion? Yes, Warden.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to figure out the value of deferring it. We could amend the resolution today to choose a November date. Staff have been asking all 17 of our municipalities to please give us an indication of when your inaugural meeting is. I'm aware of, because of the situation and the timing, I'm aware of municipalities who've changed the date of their inaugural meeting so that their representative could be sworn into this council. So I'm not really sure what we're going to be gaining by waiting until September, whereas we could simply change the date of the inaugural meeting right here in the resolution.
Oh yes, Councillor Donahue.
I would not be opposed to that. I'm presuming, since we are proposing to amend this, that we would then schedule that for the traditional county council day then, which would be the final Wednesday of November. Like, we'd have to pick a specific date post the 22nd of November.
I think that we would have to defer that date to Rose, who was the author of polling each of the, I don't know if Rose has that information at her fingertips, what the earliest date we could have.
So the earliest date that we can have it, Madam Chair, would be November 23rd.
So that pushes it up by a couple of weeks. Any other discussion on this? What are people's feelings? Yes, Paul, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment. I just want to check with Rose to make sure that that date and timing gives us adequate time for the 14 days within the procedural bylaw for an election of a warden as well. So we need notification for a nomination period, correct?
So if I can, Madam Chair, if we pick the 23rd for our inaugural meeting, nominations for the office of warden would be due on November 9th.
December 9th.
That's correct. It's 14 days prior to the inaugural meeting in an election year.
Okay. Well, I don't see that as being as big a deal as not having a county council. Does anybody have any other ideas? Do we want to wait for one more month, or do we want to go with that November 23rd date? Councillor Donahue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think we voted on the motion. No, we did not vote on the motion to defer, correct? That was moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunt. I am much more disposed towards taking up the position that the warden has advanced. So I think that is now in possession, though, of committee. So I would, do I need to move to withdraw, Mr. Morrow?
No, it's, thank you. If I may, Chair, it is now, as Councillor Donahue has indicated, it is now in possession of the chair, essentially, or the committee. So you'd either need a second motion to take it off the table or call for the vote and the motion would fail.
Let's do that. I'll call for the vote. All in favor of deferring for a month? Those opposed? Okay, so that motion fails. Oh, Warden, yes.
Chair, I was voting.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
You were delayed there.
Thanks for seeing me.
You're welcome. All right, so then for the recommendation that's in our package.
Excuse me,
Councillor
Chair.
Donahue.
Excuse me, Chair. You are having a difficult time seeing, and I'm whose hand is up, and I'm wondering if, I don't know what the proper procedure is, but maybe we could help the chair out here because we have folks putting their hand up that you just can't see. So Paul, can you help here?
Yes, thank you, Chair. With your permission, Chair, well, I will, as the clerk, I will point out who has their hand up and help guide that process. So, Chair,
That would be very helpful.
I saw Councillor Doncaster's hand up first, then Councillor.
They were pointing for him.
Oh, Councillor Doncaster. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Doncaster.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm a little confused at what the discussion is going to be around if we're advancing that. And I guess if we're going to advance it and put in place a new county council meeting, I'm okay with that as long as the one holdout isn't me.
I don't believe it is, but I'm not sure.
Chair, I see Councillor Pecca with his hand up, ma'am.
Yep, I just saw that. Go ahead, Councillor Peckett.
Thank you, Chair. My CAO has been off for the last 4 weeks and will be returning next week. From the June meeting, I'd taken some notes, and my conversation with the CAO when she returns is that we move the township's inaugural meeting up to November the 15th in order that, and that's, almost 3 weeks after the election. Unless Mr. Morrow knows that we have any legal or bound by any legal or policy that we can't do that. That's, I think, what McNabb Braeside will be doing. I don't see, especially when you have lame duck councils, extending the life of the council and feel that it should be permanently moved closer to the election date. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peckett. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Warden.
Thank you. So do we need, I don't think we have a motion so I am going to suggest an amendment to the recommendation that the inaugural meeting of County Council be held on Wednesday, November the 23rd.
So the mover and seconder, are you okay with the friendly amendment?
There is
I believe
no,
it was-
we defeated actually the motion to defer, Madam Chair, that this is now a novel motion that is being moved.
Buddy, did I not have a mover and seconder for the initial recommendation?
We had Councillor Peckett and Councillor Donahue originally moved the Wednesday, December 7th date. We haven't dealt with that issue yet. Are we going
Okay,
to
so
amend?
if the warden is saying this is just a friendly amendment to change that date to November 23rd, are Councillor Peckett and Councillor Donahue okay with that?
Yes, Madam Chair.
You, Councillor Peckett?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. So with that, is there any other discussion about Wednesday, November 23rd? Warden.
Thank you, Chair. So, just to be clear, I'm not trying to penalize the one municipality that has not been able to move their inaugural meeting. I'm not aware of their issues, and there may be very legitimate reasons why they can't do that. But again, going with Councillor Peckett, we are going to be a lame duck council. We have we certainly as a county can move things forward, but we have a new CAO that I would like to think that council could support him and in making some of those tough decisions that he may have to make on his own. And he's looking at me with daggers. But, and I hear Councillor Peckett as well. I mean, his municipality is changing things for this to happen for the rest of us. And I think many of us have changed our inaugural meeting. So, 16-1, I think we move forward.
Any other discussion? Okay, I see none and I don't hear anybody yelling out. At that, I will call for the vote. All in favor? And we have our inaugural meeting date set. Thank you. Paul, do you want to take us to number 2, please?
Thank you, Chair. With your permission, Chair, I'll read the recommendation. Thank you, Chair. That the Finance and Administration Committee recommend that County Council approve the County of Renfrew multi-year accessibility plan for 2022 to 2026. Rose had led this conversation, I believe, 2 weeks ago with our Accessibility Committee, and it was reviewed and approved by the Accessibility Committee and is now being brought forward to Finance and Admin for their approval and recommendation to County Council. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll ask for a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Brose, second by Councillor Donahue. Discussion. I see none. I do want to thank the Accessibility Committee. We in Bonnechere Valley are doing the same thing, and they were very helpful with my staff, so I want to thank them for that. At that, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Thank you, committee. And now I'll ask for a mover and seconder to accept the Paul's departmental report, please. Moved by Councillor Hunt, second by Councillor Peckett. Any further discussion? Councillor Donahue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wonder if yourself or staff can provide clarity in closing off item number 1. You said that the inaugural meeting was set. In the recommendation, the resolution was that the Finance and Administration Committee recommend that the inaugural meeting, etc. So is this recommendation going to council, or does the Finance and Administration Committee have the authority to change the date of the inaugural?
No, I'm sorry. I think I overstepped there. I'm going to blame it on my head feeling like a bowling ball. But no, the recommendation does say that it has to go to County Council.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure that Mr. Morrow was clear in his remarks either. So,
my apologies, Chair. Yes, it goes to County Council, and it should say that the Finance and Admin Committee recommend to County Council. So we will make that administrative adjustment just to make it.
Glad that you and I were on the same page, Paul.
Okay.
All right. And with that, is there anything further on Paul's departmental report? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. And now I will turn this over to Mr. Foss for his departmental report, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members of the Finance and Administration Committee. So my report begins on page number 17. Item number 1 is council remuneration up to June the 30th. The note that we have provided is with respect to the resolution that was adopted to move convention expenses back up to the historic or original level of $3,900 per member. Of course, the budget for 2022 was changed or altered because of the pandemic situation and the fact that councillors were not traveling to attend conferences in person, and that has obviously changed, and so we've made that note. Item number 2 is the Treasurer's reports for the General Revenue Fund, Bonnechere Manor, Miramichi Lodge, Public Works, as well as the Renfrew County Housing Corporation to June the 30th of 2022. Item number 3, again, just as a mid-year update, this is our summary of our COVID-related initiatives up until the halfway point of the year to June the 30th. Of course, we have not only reflected the expenditures within that report, but we're also reflecting for you the offsetting revenues. Those revenues come from primarily provincial revenues from subsidy programs that are in place for COVID risk mitigation strategies. As well, we have identified about $600 of our federal Safe Start money being used for those departments that don't have dedicated provincial subsidies. But once again, the $4.2 million in COVID-related costs to June the 30th are all offset by either provincial or federal revenues. So we have no net expenses in our financial statements that are the responsibility of the local property ratepayers with respect to COVID-19. Item number 4, just a workload summary for our provincial offenses court, and you can see that for the month of June, nearly 1,000 charges, 962 charges. So again, continuing the trend from April and for May, getting up to that close to 1,000 charges per month. So busy court times, and of course, item number 5, yes, certainly busy court times, and item number 5, just relaying to you that because of the courts shutdown and the justice of the peace shortages with court cancellations, we had 7 court dates scheduled for June. 4 of them were canceled. We only had 3 court dates. We have maintained our backlog position at 1,400 charges. Given our current court scheduling, we estimate about 20 months for us to be able to clear that level of backlog. Item 5, we did receive from the Renfrew County and District Health Unit audited financial statements for the year ended December the 31st of 2021. You will note on those statements that the health unit is reporting this year again financial surplus of $513,000, and last year a surplus of $1,118,000. Item 7 is 2023 budget guidelines, and historically in the month of August we begin our discussions, I guess, of the upcoming budget year. I'm going back to an older resolution now that from 2015 where Council approved the principles within our long-term financial plan. And typically, that's our start point for our discussion for budget guidelines for staff to begin developing the budget. Next month, we will bring forward to you a schedule that will outline our activities as we develop the budget process, again, with an attempt to bring the budget forward early in 2023 for approval by this council. What I wanted to do was just to highlight some of the things, I call them the items that are on the corner of my desk, items that I'm aware of that are that we should be considerate of as we begin to develop these budget guidelines. I didn't realize that the list would get that long, but it is, and those are certainly the challenges that are before us. We are certainly asking committee to give some thought to how you would like us to approach budget for 2023, as well as typically we are building in some cost of living adjustment for our non-union staff into the budget document. We have a couple of agreements that are expiring at the end of 2022. That's CUPE for Bonnechere Manor and for Miramichi Lodge. The CUPE paramedic agreement, of course, as of notification this week, extends into the 2023 year, so we have an understanding of the impact of that agreement on us. The ONA agreement, local agreement, expired in 2020, and we did agree with ONA that we would separate from that central hospital award, where of course Bill 124 caps those employees at 1%, and we approved a 1.75% increase in April of 2022, but we are still without a collective agreement for ONA. So there's a number of challenges that we lay before you, and we just ask that you give those consideration so that in the month of September, when we reconvene, we can have a fulsome discussion on Council's wishes for budget guidelines. Item number 8, on an annual basis, based on your local council's adoption of tax policies that were approved by this body in April, each local council has then moved forward to set tax rates, and we summarize those tax rates for you in Appendix 5. If you have a printed version, those numbers get pretty small, but if you've got them on the screen in front of you, of course, you can blow those up as large as you need to be able to see them. That is a summary of not only the county rates and the education rates, but also our tax ratios that have been adopted, as well as all of the local tax rates, not including special area rates. Item 9 is just, again, using those tax rates and multiplying it by the roll that was returned. We have our tax levy dollars that are generated by each one of the tax classes, and we reflect that for county taxation, for education taxes, as well as for each local municipality, and the total of the tax levies on properties in Renfrew County for 2022. And finally, item number 10 is our levy summary report. This report actually is fairly easy for us to deal with this year because we typically, in a reassessment phase or a reassessment time where we have a new and updated market-based assessment, and the province had been applying their phase-in approach of one quarter, essentially, or a 4-year phase-in of that assessment. In order for us to really understand what's going on with our tax impacts, we had to understand what was the market-based assessment every year, separate out the growth, and then understand what is the tax impact to existing ratepayers after growth. And of course, growth it's new money for each of us, our municipalities. Growth, of course, is levying those tax dollars, property tax dollars, on properties that did not exist the year prior. So these are new construction or renovations or additions, et cetera, et cetera. These are supplementary tax bills. And so it's fairly easy for us then to identify that when you apply those tax rates to the return roll, one year versus the other, we can very easily separate out the growth from that total levy change to really clearly understand what is the net impact of each of our budget decisions on the ratepayers within our municipality. So we provided those two charts, one just simply alphabetically, and then one simply sorted from highest to lowest as far as the real impact to local taxpayers related to the budget decisions that are made by each local municipality. Madam Chair, that's item 10 on my report. We have no resolutions or bylaws for you.
Very much. So, committee, I'll go back to information item number 1, council remuneration. Comments, questions, concerns? I see none. Number 2, the treasurer's report to June 30th. Number 3, the COVID-19 financial summary. Thank you for that chart, Jeff. That made it very clear. Number 4, the POA workload. Number 5, the administration backlog. Number 6, the RCDHU financial statements. 7, the 2023 budget guidelines. Councillor Donahue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Absolutely, I agree that in September, a fulsome discussion on the budget direction, the guidelines moving forward, is by now not a surprise where my perspective is on the long-term financial plan and how it has actually resulted in the county of Renfrew. Just speaking on these 20 pressure points, though, it does seem to me that there's a negatively prejudicial. Each of these 20 points is kind of a negative, and I don't see any of the anything that would speak towards some positives. Even the first, 4 items, I guess, are all with respect to collective agreements. But every one of those is inside of the 2.5% operation target that the long-term financial plan has. So just using the first one, our CHC-QP at 1.5% is well within the 2.5% guideline of the long-term financial plan, which is 2.5% of the levy. Likewise, it is. I've been tracking this for some time, and in fact, I can still remember the discussion in 2015 that we had with respect to provincial funding. And the long-term financial plan provides for an expectation of $500,000 in provincial funding. So I've just done some of the charting on what our experience has been. So at $500,000 since 2014. We would have anticipated through the long-term plan $4 million. In fact, we've received almost $11 million over that same time period. I'd raised actually the restriction or the intent to restrict operating increase to 2.5%. So i.e. of the 3% levy, that it be restricted to 2.5% increase to operations. The average over that same time period, 2014 through 2022, has been 1.7. In fact, the closest that we came to 2.5 was in 2015 when it was 2.37%. So again, from the perspective of the foundational document, the long-term financial plan, at the time that it was created, it absolutely was necessary. The experience that we've had subsequent to its creation has demonstrated, and I believe continues to demonstrate, that the levy target is higher than is required. So I certainly agree that a fulsome discussion is appropriate, but that we have been provided and that council would be provided at the end of the month 20 points that are simply identified as pressures and no points that are identified as the pros, if you will, 20 cons and 0 pros, to me doesn't seem to lend itself to a fulsome discussion I don't know, what direction I would give towards providing council some of the additional information, such that I just presented, that through the provincial funding alone, we have $7 million additional dollars than were otherwise anticipated. Likewise, on the federal funding, we have somewhat more, mostly in that instance because I believe there was 2, if not 3 years where it was actually doubled. Definitely it was 2. So that's something on the order of $2.6 million. So the doubling of that provided an additional $5 million over this time frame. So I think for that fulsome discussion, some of this information should be brought forward, either that or the 20 points removed from this. There's even a point in here that is suggesting, and I don't disagree, this year on our tender results, we have seen an enormous swing where it has increased dramatically. But if I go back to the discussion when we engaged on the long-term financial plan in 2015, it was the caution of not using the extremes as the basis for anything, i.e. I would likewise not suggest to you that substantial savings that were experienced in 2015 and 2016 in public works, wherein there was a considerable number of additional kilometers of pavement put down, that not be the basis for budgeting either. So in order for there to be, in my estimation, an appropriate and informed discussion, I think either these should be removed or pared back significantly, or that there be some of the offsetting funding streams, et cetera, that we have experienced. I've sat here now since 2015. Everybody in this room has sat here for at least 4 years.
Thank you for that. And I don't disagree with you. Perhaps, Jeff, for our county council or for our September meeting, you could add in some of the extra funding that we have received. Is there anything further on number 7? Yes, Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. The comments related to the doubling of the gas tax or the higher than anticipated OCIF dollars for our capital budgets are dollars that are already spent. So those dollars were approved to be spent by these chambers for an enhanced capital program in the year that we received those dollars. So it's not like we have any of that money sitting, available to us for our future capital needs. Those dollars are already spent. We do, potentially anticipate that OCIF, which is the provincial capital funding stream, will remain higher than that $500,000 level. But as I mentioned to this committee or through to County Council at our budget workshop in 2022, we have no commitment from the province. And we do have a letter which was shared at the budget workshop, which simply indicated that the province was taking this under consideration and that they would meet with some stakeholders throughout 2022 and develop an ongoing funding model for OCIF into the future. And as I understand it, that discussion will be raised next week during our AMO delegation seeking some permanency from the provincial government with respect to their capital infrastructure funding for us. If I knew of any revenue streams that were coming to us that are unanticipated for our operating expenses, I could certainly add these to the list, but I do not have any knowledge of any unanticipated heightened revenue streams other than COVID revenue, which obviously has to be offset on actual expenditures. But I don't have news that I could add to this list on our operating revenue side of the house. The capital side, as I said, there is no surplus account that we're carrying forward. We've invested those dollars into our capital plan. And we are hoping that the province will continue with something like that into the future, and our capital budget will reflect that, whatever our anticipated receipt is for our capital program. So I'd be open to any suggestions, either from council about unanticipated revenues that could assist in our levy pressures for 2023, or from any of my colleagues if they have any ideas about items that we can add to this list which will relieve our levy pressure. But these are items that are before us that we need to consider when we adopt our targets, if you will, or if we want to continue to provide the same level of services that we do today. These are items that we will need to address.
Thank you for that. Yes, Councillor Donahue.
Just to be clear, Madam Chair, certainly I'm in complete agreement with Mr. Foss that there has not been a fund building up of the additional provincial funding dollars that they have been allocated. What I am suggesting, however, is that the long-term financial plan did incorporate, of course, our capital investments on an annualized basis. And the 3% target was based on receiving only $500,000 from the province. So what we have is, in fact, in 2015, in addition to the $500,000, we received another $1 million. In 2016, we actually received less money from the province than the long-term plan. But since then, it has been an additional dollars. So there has not been an offsetting. We have still maintained, now we did from 2015 through 2018, we did maintain the 3% levy target. It has reduced each year subsequent to that, 2.6 in 19 and 2.5 in each year after that. But we are still receiving vastly more dollars from the provincial grant than our long-term plan required. So it is being offset, and though there is not a capital reserve specifically on that, I think that we can certainly ascribe the significant growth in our capital reserves that I will remind committee again, now sit at $52 million. When we commenced the long-term financial plan, I think they were something on the order of $20 million with an expectation of to reduce to $2 million. They are now at $52 million. So I think that these are things, and this ultimately the next council, I believe, will take up, probably both through a reserve policy, but also, in my estimation, with a careful reconsideration of the long-term financial plan now that there has been 8 years of information and real-world actual experience against the 10 years that were projected then. So what I am suggesting is that some elements of the long-term plan, all of which had to be met in order for us to be able to fund our capital expenditures over a rolling 10-year period, we have vastly exceeded the requirements through the actual performance of the long-term plan. That's what I'm suggesting here, that there's no specific amount, but each of these 20 points would suggest that there is a cliff that we are approaching that, in my estimation, is not certainly commensurate with the performance of the plan and our experience over the 8 years.
Anything further? I see none. Number 8, the tax rate summary. Number 9, the taxable and PIL levy by levy type. And number 10, the levy summary report. The report as a whole. Can I get a mover and seconder to accept Jeff's report? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Donahue.
Councillor Don Castro, actually, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, I meant Councillor Don Castro. My apologies, Glenn.
Yeah, it's alphabetically it would have came before, but so it just on the report as a whole, and primarily on number 7. I was going to weigh in with some comments, but I think it's more appropriate that I'll keep those comments until we have that budget discussion and the our consideration of the long-term financial plan and the evaluation of that and how it's done and how we move forward with it. So I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. All right. Again, the report as a whole. All right, can I ask for a mover and seconder to accept the report? Councillor Donahue, Councillor Peckett, anything further? All in favor? All right, do we have any new business today? I see none. We have no closed meeting. I'm assuming that still holds firm, Paul. Yes? Okay.
Chair, thank you. No closed meeting, ma'am.
Thank you. So the date of the next meeting is Monday, September 19th. Keep that in your calendars because that's been moved due to OEMC. And I will ask for a mover and seconder to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor Brose, second by Councillor Hunt. All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you, committee.